Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to MCubed. Today's Monday, so it's Movie News Monday, and we're a little bit different. We're in Vegas this time, so I'm up on the pyramid up on the Luxor. Pretty fun spot, pretty interesting spot. It's been a busy day. It's been a fun day. Fun day running around Vegas. I'm about to go see Oppenheimer in like an hour, and I meant to be here 15, 20 minutes ago, but I can't log back in my AMC Stubs account right now, and I can't upgrade myself back to A-list, and I don't know what's going on, so I'll figure it out at the counter when I get there, right? Sounds about right. But I found some coconut water, so I'm back with my coconut water. I'm a happy camper. Today, there are a couple little sad things to talk about. I can only probably be here for another 25, 30 minutes, so it's going to be a pretty short one. I'm going to try to do a little bit longer of one tomorrow, of course. But we've got to talk about Paul Rubens dying, old Pee Wee Herman himself, and then Angus Cloud passed away today as well, which is just insane. And we will also talk about the interim SAG offers and how they're not really working out as well as we'd like to at the moment. But yeah, let's do this thing. Okay, I can't believe it says Movies Money May Jane. I'm already gotta wait 9 more days until I can change the damn thing back. But whenever we change it back, we'll be good. We'll be good. Or not whenever we change it back. I guess that'll be our like actual official kind of name change and stuff like that, where we will be Movies Money. We won't be Movies Money Mary Jane anymore. It'll be just MCubed strictly. And first and foremost, okay, well, that's not gonna be good for that. Hold up, let me make a better one. There we are. There we are. Hey, howdy, Sci-Fi Quest. Also, of course, howdy, Laura. How are y'all? How are y'all doing? So we're gonna start it off on not the best of news necessarily, but better than talking about dead people at the moment. Although we need to pay our respects, so we shall in a little bit. But this is what we have at the moment. Let me drink a little more agua before we start reading this article. It's a little bit lengthy of an article, so we're gonna read through and talk about it fairly quickly. Why actors don't love the strike's interim agreements. As SAG-AFTRA grants more than 100 exceptions to the ongoing strike and the CEOs mull returning to the bargaining table, some questions whether they hurt more than help. As usual, the devil is in the details. Some questions are too, I guess. All right. So Matthew Bologna, Jonathan Handel. On Friday, the Hollywood CEOs and the key labor executives of the AMPTP got together on a call to figure out their next steps in the labor impasse that has shut down most of the entertainment industry. According to multiple sources familiar with the tone and substance of the meeting, representatives for the studios and streamers expressed a desire to return to the bargaining table. Meanwhile, several participants pressed on for the members to better align themselves on the key issues, things like residual rates and data transparency, so that Chief Negotiator Carol Lambardini would know what was and wasn't acceptable to the membership. An AMTP rep declined to comment on the meeting. Surprise. We'll see how serious the AMPTP is about returning to bargaining, but it's pretty clear what it won't agree to: the interim agreements that SAG-AFTRA has been issuing. These 70-page documents have allowed productions, small and large, for non-struck companies to continue with stars like Glenn Close, Jenna Ortega, and Mark Wahlberg. They've also become controversial, with some saying they cause confusion and even undermine the strike, so much so that SAG-AFTRA felt the need to defend the deals in an email to its members tonight. So it's worth examining why the union is issuing the interim agreements and why they reveal and what they reveal about SAG-AFTRA's negotiating position with the studios. So before we dive into the meat of the article, what are y'all thinking? Did you think these interim agreements, like the passes a lot of these films are getting, these little smaller independent films, do you think that is hurting the ability to strike at the moment? Do you think it's helping the studio's case and saying, hey, you still want to make movies too, let's just get back to making movies? Or does it help the actors and the writers that say, hey, this is our job, we're going to keep doing our job no matter what? If we have to find a different way to do our job, we're going to caveat a bit, but we're going to do it nonetheless. Any kind of thought processes there? Mine's kind of, I think, a little bit in the middle. I don't think it hurts at all. I just think it confuses the general public, and the general public just has to do a little bit more research, or has to be told that, I guess, a little bit better. And hey, that's what we're here to do. That is what we are here to do. While we're here, though, my mic's good and everything. I just, I just want to make sure the setup's all right. while we're away for this half week, you know? But anyway, the lightning rod. Structurally, these agreements give a production company the right to produce a film or television project with union actors during the strike. The form incorporates by reference the existing SAG-AFTRA film and TV collective bargaining agreements and adds dozens of terms that effectively incorporate the union's most recent demands before talks with the studios and streamers collapse. So, on some level, they actually represent SAG's best-case scenario. An indie producer whose low-budget film stopped production when the actors walked out would now be able to restart shooting and with an increased budget because the cast can now make more in wages and residuals. Pretty cool. When SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP finally reach a deal, the pact will take effect and supersede the interim agreement. I mean, that's kind of how things should be starting to be made anyway. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks, have we think that a giant box office kind of $200-300 million budget film is just not as effective as it used to be. And some of these indies might be the way to go, and it's looking like it, especially during the striking time. Anyway, in the meanwhile, though, the interim agreements have become a lightning rod. The union has more than 100 of them, and that led comedian actress Sarah Silverman to excoriate SAG-AFTRA on social media. She partially walked back her criticism after union president Fran Drescher and national executive director Duncan Crabtree Ireland explained SAG's rationale, for issuing these agreements has been to apply competitive pressure on the studio streamers and demonstrate that its demands are workable for producers, notwithstanding CEO pushback. I don't understand Silverman's pushback. I really don't. I think that this is precisely what Fran Drescher said, that it's a way to show the studios that actors are going to work no matter what. And if need be, there will be another way of working. It doesn't have to be these giant studio projects, these tentpole films. They can be smaller. And if the residuals are there, the actors are not really getting paid less than they would be on a lot of box office things. They might not be getting paid as upfront as you may expect typically. But that's okay if those residuals are still there. And yes, the residuals topic is still uneasy per se, because who's to say set decorators, costume designers, stunt coordinators, et cetera, don't deserve residuals. So that's something I think that needs to be added to the conversation, especially coming from the actor side and trying to understand where they can meet the studios in the middle and where the studios should meet the actors in the middle. Because I think everybody deserves a little slice of the pie if they're going to be devoting that much time and have their work there in perpetuity nonetheless, you know? But anyway. Yeah. Here we go. The interim agreements are intended primarily for producers with no connection to the AMPTP, meaning no financing or distribution deal with the 5 legacy studios or 3 pure play streamers that negotiate across the table from the union. That means that even a large company like Lionsgate, love me Lionsgate, is eligible. Indeed, a Mel Gibson film, Flight Risk, has an interim agreement and a distribution deal there, as are A24 and all of its ilk. A Lionsgate picture could do real business with the studio's fume, and A24 product would find clear sailing among the art house crowd, while studio specialty divisions like Disney's Searchlight are sidelined by the strike. A24, talk to me right now. Such a great horror film. Like, you got to go check it out. If you have any inkling of scary movies that you like, check it out. It's great. And I like that Lionsgate is able to do a couple of other things. It's always been one of my favorite studios, with it kind of being that happy medium kind of size. I don't necessarily want it to be any bigger than that happy medium, but to put a little bit more pressure on everybody else, that might not be a bad thing. And if A24 can kind of boost its stature, Neon kind of boost its stature, a couple other film studios like that, I think it could do a lot. I think this could do a lot for heralding or re-heralding in an era of mid-sized films, mid-budgeted films, a little bit of both. But the fact that anyone gets to work during the strike doesn't sit well with some performers, leading Viola Davis, for instance, to step back from G20, and adding to the confusion and dismay, several projects with major streamer distribution actually have received interim agreements. G20 is to be distributed by Amazon. Apple is distributing Tehran and Apex. Brad Pitt stepped away. And Ishana Night Shyamalan's M. Night Shyamalan's The Watchers is a pickup for Warner Bros. New Line Cinema. Why are these projects eligible? The answer, according to a union source, is that these projects are being produced overseas, which means that SAG-AFTRA has to comply not only with the U.S. labor law, but also with the laws of the country in which the production is being shot. And in many cases, that legal regime inhibits the union's ability to strike those productions. So, better to sign them to interim agreements that get involved in a messy transnational fight. We can keep going if we want to, honestly. That kind of covers the gist of the article. It does have a decent bit more. I don't necessarily... Oh, we could go to the AI question real quick. We might even add that to tomorrow's discussion a little bit. But yeah, let's leave it at that at the moment, just because I know we don't have that much longer. I'll probably only be here for another 10, 15, 20 minutes, which is just... Sorry again. I wish we could have a little bit longer of a stream. I will definitely try to do so tomorrow. But yeah, what are y'all thinking? Are y'all on the thought process that the studios have more leverage with more interim agreements being issued, or that actors have more leverage with that interim agreements are being issued? And also, I think a little bit more leveled of a question to think about is, yes, these interim agreements are helping the actors. I think if you take that thought process side, which I think I do, not entirely sure. I hold the right to change my mind. I think, I'm a human being. That happens frequently. But I'm of the mind that I think that the actors have the upper hand there for negotiation for the interim things. But does that, if they do, if you're on that thought process wave, does that hurt the WGA's ability to do things? Because one thing they're not talking about is A24 doesn't necessarily have to hire a bunch of WGA writers. One of the things that I think SAG is one of the things that SAG is not asking for is, it's not saying that we have to have WGA written projects for a SAG actor to work on. So a lot of these indies, not a lot of them necessarily, but none of these indies have to have WGA standards. Does that continue the WGA standard? Strike a little bit further on, because SAG might kind of be hurting them with the interim things? Does that help the studios with the writers and not necessarily with the actors? Or where would y'all's mindset be there? I'm kind of still in the process of thinking about it, of course, but I think I'm along the lines of it's hurting the writers maybe a tad bit, not a whole bunch, but possibly to a degree. To a small degree, yes, but to a degree. I think that the studios probably want to prolong the writers more so than the actors, of course, and that this could probably be an easy way to do so. All right, well, if these studios are doing it, if this studio's doing it, if this studio's doing it, sure, we'll get you back to acting. We'll figure out these two main points, the AI and the residuals, of course, and the data transparency for the residuals. But there's no reason to continue working with the writers there and continue negotiating with the writers. I guess what can the writers bring to the table to try to force the studio's hand, like SAG-AFTRA is able to do with interim agreements for filming for actors and studios and film projects and productions in general? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you have an idea, because I'm not sure. That's a good thing to think about, though. But while we are thinking about that, I guess we may pivot to a little bit sadder of news. There have been two actors that have passed away today, one at 70 years old and one at 25 years old, both too young. Pee Wee Herman, played by the great Paul Reubens, has passed away. Or Paul Reubens, who played Pee Wee Herman, has passed away at 70 years old this morning, and that's super sad. I haven't been like the biggest Pee Wee Herman fan my entire life, but I did grow up watching him every now and then. Paul Reubens is just, he's an international icon. Not to the likes of Mr. Bean, but probably like one step under, right? Maybe one or two steps under. He's just kind of one of those characters that multiple generations of human beings across the globe can recognize fairly quickly and fairly easily. It's sad. It's really sad. And then Angus Cloud of Euphoria fame, of course, saw him on set when I was working on Euphoria. That's just depressing as hell, man. He's a year older than me, not even a full year older than me. We're roughly the same age, and I don't know exactly what happened to him. I believe an article my friend sent me said that his dad passed away a week ago from struggling with some issues, and that Angus Cloud himself was dealing with some issues. So it may have been a possible suicide, but I don't even like putting that out there in the ether without knowing for sure. So don't quote me on that at all, please. That's just the only thing I've seen, because I haven't seen anybody report of the actual cause of death, and that's just what I've seen and heard, I guess. It's just depressing. People are dropping like flies, I guess, and it's just I feel like every week there are new actors that have died, new people that are, I guess, large in the zeitgeist that the general public tends to know that keep passing away, and it's just so sad. I like Pee-wee, even with his legal issues that cost him his show. See, I didn't even realize he had a bunch of legal issues or anything, but he had shows and movies. He had generations of stuff, right? Because he had little new animated stuff. I don't know. It's sad. It's sad. I hate to see all these people passing like that. Paul Rubens, ripped legend. Yeah, that's bad. What are we saying about the WGA and everything, though? At 25, far too young to die. Far too young to die. Paul Rubens at 70 is too young to die, but freaking 25 years old? I can't imagine. That's terrifying to me. I mean, like I just said, I'm less than a year away from that. I'm glad he had the legacy he was able to leave, but it's terrifying. Look it up. Not going to say what it was here. Okay, I'll check it out. Damn. Oh God, dropping caps. If you need electrolytes while you're in Las Vegas, there's Gatorade, and then there's coconut water. You know, I need to find a coconut water to sponsor me. I like coconut water too much. It's becoming one of my favorite joys. I had to bring a little levity. I wasn't just switching topics for the sake of it. I was trying to bring a little levity. What will stop studios sourcing writers from outside of America as well as actors? Actors, not because America's just so much better or anything, but really the UK and parts of Europe are where you're going to find your best actors outside of the US. Russia particularly as well, but I don't think people are going to be hiring Russian actors anytime soon. I should look it up. Okay. Writers, though, I don't think it's even I think the writers are a harder thing than the actors to hire outside of the US, just because of, I guess, not necessarily. There is an English language barrier generally at times, which is hard to do with scripting and then trying to translate back to whatever. Actors, acting wise, I don't think that's very difficult to outsource acting. Actually, there are some difficulties about it, but I don't think it's the harder of the two. I think outsourcing writers is much more difficult. I think at that point they're just going to hire more and more non-union writers, and maybe the essence of the media that we know will change to a degree. And I don't know if that's a bad thing in every single way. It's not a great thing in every single way. That means a lot of people are losing jobs and things of the sort. But if it opens up an avenue to a whole new era of film, maybe that could be interesting. But I think that's a little optimistic. I think we do need to go ahead and get these strikes solved up. I don't think it is the language as much as syntax. Yeah. They want to prolong the WGA strike because they are the ones that can least afford it. They're hoping to starve them out. Totally. I think they are the ones that can afford that. The writers can afford it much more than the actors, and that's why they've already been on strike 4 times as long, or a little more than that, honestly. but they're not going to be able to withhold as long as the actors can, I don't think, because they don't have the type of where the actors, they might have the actors fund that they can draw from. That's 160,000 people in just the SAG union. There's only 20,000 writers. So it's difficult. They use writers from all over as it is anyway. For the most part, yeah. Maybe not like for showrunners and things like that, unless it's a specific kind of project. Like there's a lot of like European showrunners and UK showrunners and things like that. But their ancillary writers can be from anywhere and all over, and they typically are. So these different places that these shows are talking about can kind of, you know, actually get someone from those places and get like a realistic depiction of these things. British actors can do an American accent, so can people from the lowland countries, not so much actors from the rest of Europe. That's true. That's true. Brits do really good Southern accents a lot of the time. I love the fact that The Walking Dead is essentially half British. It just cracks me up. I don't know what go, and especially that Tennessee, Georgian, even a little Alabama, that kind of Southern accent, they really just draw into. They've got that good Kentucky foghorn leghorn draw. Of course, that wasn't a good one, but you know what I mean. How much will the food trucks be losing while the strike is going on? I mean, they're all over Los Angeles County and outwards as well. Maybe some might go to San Diego. Some might even come out here to Las Vegas. They have other things to be doing. The crafty companies, the companies that do crafty specifically, they may be struggling a bit, but they also just do snacks. So there might be a good way to caveat. I'm not positive. I wouldn't say it's not that I'm not worried about them at all, because every single little bit of this strike and every single little bit of the industry it's a domino effect, and everything has a domino effect on each other, whether it be to a large or a small effect. But I would think that within the food industry, especially in just like the crafty industry, that they're going to lose thousands. That's for sure. They're losing money, but I would hope at least that they have been able to find a way to caveat their business model to survive during this time period. Not positive. That might just be my optimistic self, hoping for the best, fingers crossed kind of deal, but I would hope so. I would hope so. Yeah, so strike talk. Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens passed away. Angus Cloud passed away. That's kind of it, y'all. I got to be at Oppenheimer in 40 minutes, so I might start moving. I hate to cut this so short. I'm going to cut it at 25 minutes, so we have 2 more minutes of hanging out. What can we talk about in 2 minutes? Brits can do American accents, but Americans can't do a British accent, LOL. Some can. Not really as it's that Brits can do American much better, I think, but there's some decent ones. Have fun at Oppenheimer. I'm pumped. This is my second time seeing it, but I'm seeing it in 70 millimeter. It's the way it was supposed to be seen, the way it was made to be seen. I'm pumped. I'm really excited. I'm sad that I haven't been able to do so in LA, but the seats have been completely sold out. Las Vegas, we get here, and I think half to 3/4 of the theater was pretty sold out, but the other third to a quarter was fine and dandy. So we're all good. I'm pumped. I'm happy. I'm a happy camper. But for me and my coconut milk, I would think they figured things out with the pandemic, since they could not be on set then. But I would think that there should be some crossover there for damn sure. But there was still a lot of filming going on during the pandemic. They were a lot less affected during the pandemic. They just had to do what they did with mask on, typically. Where the actors had to do, well, I mean, I guess they might have had to do COVID test and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know how that worked for them, honestly. I have some friends that are in IATSE, so that might be a good group to ask, just for the sake of asking. Well, thank you. I'm going to try for an hour, maybe hour and a half tomorrow. Hour for sure. But no, very, very good point. I don't know. We'll play it by ear, and I shall keep you posted. But let's roll the outro / and I will see y'all back here tomorrow. Come back to MCubed for more.